So, good afternoon to all webinar participants and our esteemed guests from Ernst Young's Forensic and Integrity Services. My name is Bexy Kuriakos and I head the Center for Content Creation at National Institute of Securities Market, also known as NISM. NISM is a public trust established in 2006 by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, the regulator of the securities markets in India. NISM carries out a wide range of capacity building activities at various levels aimed at enhancing the quality standards in securities markets. As part of its mandate, the Center for Content Creation oversees all the digital content creation for NISM's e-learning programs and skill development modules. NISM now has a bouquet of 60 plus e-learning programs, some of which are free and some are developed in collaboration with our knowledge partners who are experts in their respective fields. These e-learning courses are available on our LMS, that is our learning management system, which can be accessed at online.nism.ac.in. I will be sharing the link details in the chat window so that all of you can check out these courses, which cover a wide range of topics related to investor education and the securities market. We have courses spanning foundational financial literacy to advanced, specialized, and niche courses in the area of mutual funds, equity derivatives, fixed income, AIF, corporate governance, anti money laundering, wealth management, and so much more. Today's knowledge webinar is being conducted by our knowledge partner Ernst Young, with whom we have collaborated to offer two e-learning courses on forensic investigation. As you would know, as many of you would know, in recent times, forensic investigation has become increasingly crucial in India due to the growing complexity of financial crimes, corporate frauds, and regulatory violations. It plays a key role in uncovering hidden evidence, tracing illicit financial activities, and ensuring accountability in both public and private sectors. ENY's Forensic and Integrity Services practice assists organizations in managing risk, investigating alleged misconduct, driving regulatory compliance, measuring the financial implications of disputes, and leveraging forensic technology using robotics automation, digital and forensic analysis. It draws from broad sector experience, deep subject matter knowledge, and latest insights from global engagements to enable organizations to implement optimal solutions. I would now like to hand over the stage to Ghazal Gera to introduce our guest speakers for today and start the knowledge session. Over to you, Ghazal.
Thank you, Bexy, for this introduction. So, as Bexy mentioned, we have collaborated with NISM to create a course on forensic investigation. The EY Forensic Integrity Services, as few of you might be aware, is a very large service firm giving services in and out to organizations in certain areas of, due diligence, the forensic investigations, data analytics, etc. And with me, I have two senior partners from EY, Mr. Mukul Srivastava and Mr. Amit Rane. Mukul has been in this practice since 20 plus years now. However, his work experience spans 30 plus years. He has also been a CFO for a leading advertising firm. Again, his areas of expertise, as I said, are investigation, anti-fraud control reviews, data analysis, FCPA reviews, and he also leads the e-learning team at EY. And along with him, we have another senior partner, Mr. Amit Rane, who is the founder and vice president of Mumbai chapter of Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, which is ACFE. Again, his key areas of specialization are investigations, all the advisory reviews, anti-fraud controls. And he is also a certified lead trainer for anti-bribery, anti-corruption, and all the investigation masterclasses and trainings that we do. So all of us together will take this session for you and let you know that, what is there in this course, what is forensic investigation, how you can benefit if you take this course. Yeah, so over to you, Mukul.
Thanks, Ghazal. Thank you so much for the introduction, guys. It's a pleasure talking to all of you. And we worked, as Bexy said, we worked on with NISM on uh, providing the relevant content for this course. And rightfully, as Bexy again said, thanks Bexy for doing my job easy for me, is what is this course about, right? Why is it so important, right? Everyone can jump into the course and start off with the course, but why is it so important, right? What is it that we expect to cover? Ghazal, can we change the slides to slide number 3, please? Yeah, the so, oh yeah, even this is fine. Yeah. So, what are we going to cover? We're just going to quickly cover the importance of trainings, right? What challenges do generally people face around forensic investigations, fraud and financial crime, and some leading practices to mitigate the fraud risks, right? And these are broadly the topics we are going to cover. Some will be covered by me, some will be covered by Amit, right? And so as we move on, right, the first thing is to really understand the importance of this training, right? So why are trainings important, right? Again, I'm not trying to sell our services, but trainings are extremely important, right? I manage the entire e-learning piece for E&Y, and every time we go meet a client, every time we're meeting third parties, every time we're meeting typically people from HR, or we're meeting people from learners, the same question comes up, right? Why is it important, right? So if you look at it, there are a large number of things, right? I'm not going to read the slide here, but essentially if you know about forensic, if you know about any topic, from a if you've been trained to handle that topic, right, you know how to tackle a situation, right? In schools we are taught 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? That's the base of our maths, right? We are taught how to write ABCs. We may be taught how to write k, kh, g, or whatever the alphabet and vernacular script is. Those are stepping stones, right? Those are the base steps for anything, right? That's how you sort of enhance, that's how you learn, that's how you enhance your knowledge. Similarly, trainings, the importance of training comes in from the fact that if you know the basics of the training, you'll automatically be able to execute something in a much better way. Coming to forensic trainings, if you start getting trained on what are the skills, what are the uses, how to investigate, it's much easier for you to undertake a forensic review, right? You could be a fraud investigator, you could be a normal, just sitting in a bank reviewing some records, you could be at a ED level in a bank, you could be in an insurance company, you could be in a fintech today. But learning to spot the red flag is extremely important, and that is what the training will really help you with, right? the of course, in our lines of business, most of the people, someone who's in compliance, someone who's in finance, someone who's in internal audit, someone who's in statutory audit, someone who may be a part of a review team, someone who's doing AML, what are they trying to do? They're trying to mitigate the risk. Whatever they're doing, whatever various activities are happening, they're trying to mitigate you're trying to mitigate the risk. And as you're mitigating the risk, right, knowing the problem, right, being well aware of the problem will help you to mitigate the risk in a more efficient manner, right? Remember the simple rule: you can never zeroize the risk, you can minimize the risk, right? That's why mitigating the risk is very, very important. Also, when
And
you're
if I may add, Mukul,
yeah, please.
nowadays regulators, enforcement agencies, all the organizations are looking at how the organization is mitigating risk rather than, for the fraud to happen and then investigate it. It is much more important to be able to prevent it, right? So this, as they say, the an ounce of prevention is better than the cure. So that's why it's more important nowadays, especially with independent directors and other people who are activist investors. So it's a very, very different environment nowadays. So that's where mitigating the risk of fraud or doing more preventive work is becoming much more important today.
No, that's a fantastic point, Amit, right? And I think, and you'll agree with me, Amit, right? Over the years, if you see 20, 25 years, the regulators were in a different realm or a different domain. Today, they're very,
Right.
very active, right? And this is exactly what they're changing. So I think that's a fantastic point, Amit, you made. Another point is handling evidence, right? We don't know, like, very simple thing like, if there is an issue, if there is an event, if there's a fraud, how to tackle it that you're not tampering with an evidence, right? And we say this to our clients. And Amit, again, we have said this to so many of our clients. What do forensic accountants or forensic professionals do? They tackle or handle the data in a way that it does not lose its evidential integrity. It's extremely important, right? So whatever review you're doing, very simply, you're doing an investigation, there's data on a hard disk. You can't just switch on the computer, right? There's a way you will extract the data. You're running analytics, there's a way you will do it, right? You want access to the bank statements to do some funds flow analysis. You need to be able to obtain those bank statements in the right manner. You just can't pick up the phone, and you can't just pick up anything and start using it as evidence. You have to have the right audit trail. You have to have the right audit evidence. So it's extremely important to handle or tackle the evidence as well. I think
Right. And it is, like Mukul said, it's all the more important to make sure that you handle it correctly as well as obtain it correctly. Because a lot of times, if these cases go into the regulatory realm or to the courts, it's more important that the evidence has been gotten perfectly well than to actually have all the evidence. So it becomes very important, and your evidence could not be admissible in a court of law if it is illegally gotten. So that's where handling of evidence is extremely important. And some element of knowing the law is extremely important there as well.
No, perfect. Thanks, Amit. Thank you so much again. So, reducing financial losses, effective response, right? Of course, the whole idea, if you look at all the surveys, if you look at the ACFE fraud survey, EVA has done surveys in the past. There are other organizations who have done undertaken those surveys. Detecting fraud, using a forensic mindset, detecting fraud will help you mitigate the risk and eventually help you mitigate the losses you're suffering because of that. Okay. It'll help you to stop the gaps, cover up the gaps in the long run. And that will be a huge savings. It's not an instant saving, but slowly it builds up. Every drop of water you save today will help you later on, right? So every small loss you prevent today will help you in the long run to save you from a much bigger loss. Staying in sync with technology, again, right? I remember 30 years back when I first did forensic investigations, everything was books of record, right? You had to pick up a green pen and start ticking ledgers. You have to start, tallying numbers manually. Today, things are very, sorry. Today, things are very, very different, right? Everything is on technology. Everything is on a mobile phone or on a laptop or on an ERP system or on some other data is being stored in bits and bytes. You need to be able to understand technology. You don't need to be a coder. I'm not saying you have to be a coder. I'm not saying you have to be an expert in technology, but you should be able to understand how to tackle that situation. This was a known joke 20 years back. When you took a bunch of hard disks as evidence, they were sealed in a polythene bag and just thrown in the room in the storeroom of a police station, right? Now, I don't know if it happened or not happened, but assuming it happened, right, it's an absolute disaster, because probably the cops did not understand the technology. Cops didn't understand they had to store it in a cool place, protect it from dust, not store it in a plastic bag or whatever the situation is. But staying in sync with technology, it's very important, right? Even today, if you look at it, even the authorities, the police department, there are cybercrime cells, right? They're specialists in it. So they're getting trained as well to how to tackle this situation. And of course, last but not the least, protecting your reputation. In the long run, um, when you train yourself, when you're executing something very well, you not only ensure that your own personal reputation is protected, but you're also protecting the reputation of the organization you're working for. Again, it could be an organization, could be a regulator, could be the police force, could be a large bank or a large financial institution, could be a consultancy firm like ours, could be anyone. But because we know what to do, how to do, we've been trained to do it, right? We will be saving our reputation. So in my case, Mukul will be saving Mukul's reputation and my organization's reputation, right? Same way, Amit will be saving Amit's reputation and the organization's reputation. So I think this is really the short version of the importance of trainings. I think the next one is to talk more about challenges you face typically in an investigation. So over to you, Amit, for that.
Sure. And if I make a last point on this slide,
Yeah.
one of the key facts is that whenever any regulatory enforcement agency comes into the picture, they always give weightage to what are the controls that have been put in. So it's more important that you as individuals and professionals are doing the fraud investigations correctly, are doing the preventive steps correctly. So that definitely gets a brownie point with any enforcement or regulatory authority in your investigation. God forbid if anything goes wrong. So now we'll talk a little bit around what are the challenges in forensic investigation. So one of the key challenges that we see when we go to clients and also with some mid or large organizations as well is there is a lack of trained personnel. So people have their training into legal compliance, internal audit, and all of these definitely cover some element of fraud, but not necessarily everybody is trained a lot around fraud, how to analyze evidence, how to spot red flags, how to know about what are the interpersonal challenges that organizations face when it comes to fraud. So that's why it's very important to understand all of these. And most of the times, a lot of large organizations also have a issue on allocating individuals when it comes to fraud because fraud doesn't happen every day, right? And when it happens, a large number of resources people are required to handle it, are required to assess what caused it, look at the internal controls side. So a lot of times, the companies don't have so much bandwidth to quickly jump onto this. So that's where, one of the key challenges lies in the organizational side. Second, like Mukul was saying earlier, there is extensive technology being used by fraudsters. Gone are the days where fraud happened through pen and paper. So a lot of times, fraudsters are using some loopholes in the ERP, using some loopholes within your financial systems as well as other systems. And as you all know, a fraudster is much smarter than a regular individual in an organization because he will utilize all of these things. So to catch them also, we have to be one step forward from all of them. That's where it's very important to know how to use the right amount of technology. Like, you might not necessarily want to know all the facets of technology, but you should know definitely what are the skill sets and other things which are how you can leverage technology in an investigation. And like we also mentioned earlier, there are multiple ERP systems, manual books, all of these things are very much required in an investigation. Then coming to regulatory challenges, like I had also mentioned earlier, there are a lot of times, you have to run the process, correctly as per the regulatory guidelines, or you should not flout the law. Like we said earlier, the evidence and how it is gotten is mostly what evidence you have. So that's something which is very important, as well as with the evolving laws in the country, especially around privacy, data protection, and all. You need to run an investigation so that it does not fall foul of all of these as well. Because anytime you have confronted the perpetrator, and if the things go to the next level, every time the fraudster will definitely bring up the things that was it done legally, was it done correctly. So all of these things, challenges will come up. And these are practical challenges that we also see in when we do investigations. And the last is the personal or human resource challenge, because people are the most important things. The lack of cooperation from employees, people can have resistance during an investigation because it's much easier to say that he will not cooperate on some guys, especially on the regulatory side, or if there are issues around everything that is how the evidence is got, rather than giving an evidence. So it's always easier for a perpetrator to not come up and stand for an interview than to actually say something and then be caught by it. So that's what is very important, and especially also when a fraud is committed, perpetrators try to damage the IT assets and other assets so that the evidence is destroyed. So that's also very important, that most of the IT assets or other things, how you protect them in an investigation. So these are practical challenges that we have seen when we look at forensic investigations. If you can move to the next slide, Ghazal. And I'm not sure if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat so that we could cover them all as well. Move to the next slide, please. Yeah. So since a lot of you could be from the financial services background, there are different types of frauds that happen in the financial services industries. The most common ones are the financial misstatements. You would have read in the recent news about different banks having issues around this. So that's something which is very important, where people will misrepresent revenue either for personal gains or if there are listed entities to make money on the share price. So that's something which is very important to assess. And also on the other side, if a bank or a financial institution gives a loan, right, inflated inventory and accounts receivables, these generally are common schemes used by borrowers to increase their credit limits. We have seen many of those, right? So that's something which is very important. And masking of unusual liabilities, penalties. So most of them, when they want to do a fraud, will never declare all the contingent liabilities to you. So that's something which is very important. Employee frauds, they happen everywhere and more often. And given that the control and the span of control and the amount at risk is very high in financial institution industries, that's where we see a lot of payroll related frauds about ghost employees, multiple payments to, on travel and entertainment related expenses or other expenses to employees. A lot of recruitment related risk because of the volume of requirements which are seen in financial services institutions. So that's where we see a large uptick of employee frauds. And we also have a business around employee background check. So there also we see a lot of issues around financial services industries where people generally, fake or overstate their credentials, overstate the role that they have been in the previous organization. So all of these things are coming the uh, definitely coming in the financial services institutions. And a lot of emerging technology used in financial services industries, given the fact that they are at the forefront of technology. That's where we are seeing a lot of deep fake frauds, a lot of cases where keyloggers and other fake software are used to gain access to the systems. So that's something which we have seen. And identity theft and account takeover, I don't need to say more, because this is one of the key types of frauds that happen in the financial services industry. And you would have seen a lot of industries, a lot of industries where credit card data gets leaked either through their current employees or through their system related issues or through vendors. So that's something, data leakage is definitely one of the key things. And first part fraud, especially around the sourcing and everything, where we see documentary frauds, those kind of things are definitely seen. Payment and SWIFT and remittance fraud, which happened in a large nationalized bank that you would have seen. So these are very much there and possible in the banking and financial services industry. And a
Amit,
lot of new age frauds are coming into the picture where
yeah.
we are seeing skimming and SIM cloning and a lot of e-wallet related frauds which are happening in financial services institutions, where, card not present related frauds. So a lot of financial institutions have definitely set up measures and control measures around these slipping through. So that's something which we have seen. And that's exactly what we see in the internal control vulnerability. A lot of times we see a number of issues, either the technology stack or how it is implemented and how, new technologies are implemented. And generally when the companies are migrating or financial services are migrating from one technology to another, we see a lot of these frauds happening. I don't know
I
if you
think,
want to add anything, Mukul, but yeah.
yeah, I just was thinking, I think we addressed very briefly of the whole AI. Today we are talking of the artificial intelligence. Everything is getting generated. Sorry, I have a bad throat. So everything is getting generated through artificial intelligence, right? So if whether you look at document forgery, whether you look at duplicate supportings, whether you look at duplicate vouchers, a lot of frauds have already started happening, and they're only going to increase. So another thing which is very important for us to another reason that we should be well aware of the technology, right? And a lot of you may be in the fin crime space, fintech space, right? So you would probably you're probably more exposed to such things, so you have to be even more careful, right? You need to really understand the technology piece. So I think that's one piece I wanted to just re-emphasize on, Amit. I know you spoke about it, but for all the participants, it's very important to understand
That's
this.
a brilliant point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because new age frauds, you have to keep abreast of everything which is happening around you.
yeah.
And always the fraudsters have a will be extremely smart. They will use the current vulnerabilities in a company's internal controls. They will know how to navigate these issues, right? That's why a knowledge of everything is very important. And on this slide, we just mentioned what are the different types of frauds which happen in financial services industry or fin crime. But like this, we have a topology of all the frauds happening in multiple industries. So that's something which we will, cover in the course as we go along. Move on to the next slide, Ghazal. Yeah. So what is forensic audit? So a lot of times a forensic investigation, forensic audit is used, interchangeably. But what we typically do in a forensic audit, the first step is obviously understanding what is the background information. So looking at the preliminary analysis is the most important thing to try to see when a fraud is uncovered or there's an issue is uncovered. What is the background information? What is, say, if you get a report from an internal audit or some other team to look at what the issue is what the background of the issue is, and then identifying with what are the key business processes and what are the applicable procedures. So if you take an example of we'll continue the example of a banking fraud. If there is a huge amount of mis-selling which has happened, so this generally comes either through customer complaints or the people on the ground, senior people on the ground observe it when they do a market visit. So first step is to get that background information as to how it was uncovered, how it was seen, and then identifying what are the key business processes and that were manipulated to use to come up have the fraud. And then we conduct preliminary review of financial statements for the relevant period. So trying to assess what is the financial statement impact, or if there is any other way that you can identify the impact. So this all comes into the preliminary analysis front, where it's very important first to understand the lay of the land before you jump into doing a forensic audit. Then the next step is obviously to do financial statement analysis. So identifying through forensic data analytics or financial statement analysis as to what are the account balances which have been used, what are the major areas. If you look at a banking fraud, where is the loan utilization? How is the money being used? Are they using related parties? Are there any concentration of purchase or sale? So identifying all those issues becomes very important. And then identifying ratio analysis. And what I feel, it's very important is to try to visualize the data. So there are a lot of data visualization tools available today, like Power BI and others, where when you see the data, when you look at the data intuitively, information, the data speaks to you. So that's becoming very important, just like ratio analysis, ability to see the data on in a big screen, where you look at if you look at certain vendors and what are the patterns around certain vendors. Are there certain vendors being paid at a particular time? Are there some which are breaching the credit limits or which are paid before the credit period is over? So these kind of patterns start emerging, and that's where you will start, you will be able to identify what are the different types of issues. And then obviously when you look at and identify some anomalous transactions, you need to be able to check the samples basis the red flags, as well as looking through the evidence that is attached along with it with the supporting documents. So either if they are hard copy documents, you look at them. So a lot of times most of the documents will speak to you if there is an issue. So that's where more the financial statement analysis comes into picture. Then most of these frauds will definitely also have a bank statement analysis angle, where we are able to identify how the funds have flown. In one particular case that we recently did, we looked at 300 bank statements across the whole group, and we were able to piece together where the money was moving from. So in that case, the company had used and misused money and moved it through different accounts, through different individuals, as well as it went outside where we saw payments made to vendors and then money coming back through customers. So all of this happens, and the ability to track all of this is something which is very important to be able to provide evidence to either your top management or to regulators or enforcement authorities, where you can decipher how the fraud has happened. And then again, when we see issues in bank statement analysis, checking the bank reconciliation statement, most of the times we are also able to understand and analyze both the bank book and the bank statement where we will find anomalies. Payment being made to Mukul recorded as payment being made to Amit and vice versa. So a lot of these issues come out where people disguise transactions, people use different parties and like, show them as payments made to another party. Especially in the banking domain, we see a lot of cases where, people borrowers using this method to make transactions through related parties. So a lot of, as you all know, bankers will not necessarily give credence to transactions with related party entities. That's why parties and structures are created so that borrowers are able to show sales to these parties and take a credit for the sales and that way get a loan. So there is actually no movement of goods. Parties are all next to each other so that not necessarily you'll require the e-way bills and all of these things are done. So this is a common issue that we see when we do investigations. And then mystery shopping and background checks. So there is no substitute to actually going down and touching and feeling the issue, right? So that's something which we get from mystery shopping as well as background checks, where we do conduct intelligence to identify what is the possible nexus between different parties, because nobody uses related parties who are related in the strictest term of law, but they use associate parties and others to do transactions. So if you see that there is a low margin sales, there is a low or no margin sales where the payment is effected very quickly. So that's where we see these issues come out. And lastly, most of the times, people also ask us to do asset tracing, where we gather intelligence on the ground to get what are the different ill-gotten, what is the people done with the ill-gotten gains. So a lot of fraudsters obviously will, use the money to buy a big asset or try to structure some transactions, use it through trust. So a lot of times we are able to both get intelligence around what are the different properties that this person visits, as well as conduct documentary analysis around what are the various assets that he has built. And then we piece this together along with looking through bank statement analysis. So, this just shows you what is the depth that you require to do an investigation. So maybe if we can move to the next slide. And I'm not sure if you guys have questions, but feel free to ask in the chat so that we can address some issues as well. So coming down to what are the leading practices. So one is definitely governance at the tone and the tone at the top, because most of the times any your either your independent board or a regulator or some enforcement agency will definitely ask you this question when it comes to an organization. And this is what this course will also teach you is have the right tone at the top. So that's something which is very important. We need to companies need to have policies and procedures. So you have taken an example of anti-bribery corruption here, but a lot of times company has to have entity-wide written compliance measures. They need to be able to, demonstrate that they have done a risk assessment. So a lot of the policies and procedures and the environment has to be there. So on the left side, there are, governance and tone at the top and policy and procedures. And on the right side, we definitely, talk about enterprise risk assessment or a bribery and corruption risk assessment. So a lot of those things are definitely required, as well as third party management to show that we did diligence, we did look at the parties. So this actually is a good mechanism for you to demonstrate to anybody that you have the appropriate procedures in place, you have the appropriate steps that you have taken along with training and everything else to be able to show that you had a good framework to prevent fraud or bribery and corruption as it could be. And then, people can give credence to such a framework that you have, and then say that you were appropriately in control. Move on to the next slide. And then obviously having internal controls becomes very important. Training and communication of the same to the employees. It can't just be a training which says that, read the policy and follow it, but it's more important to actually come out and say that the frequently asked questions, frequent ethical dilemmas that happen in an organization. So you do trainings around them, as well as, monitoring actively the whole fraud management or anti-bribery corruption framework. That also is very important, along with the steps that we had spoken earlier. and then reporting, investigating, and the fact that all the issues that which are found in the investigations are actually they've strengthened the control environment, and you have an adequate response to a particular fraud. So those are the leading practices that we see around bribery, corruption, fraud, and everything else.
I just want to add one thing, Amit, here about training and communication, right? A lot of times, a lot of companies and organizations, right, they say, oh, here's the policy, make sure you read it and check. You just check the box and say understood or accepted, right? It's like installing a software or an app on a phone, right? You just accept terms and conditions and say, okay, and move ahead. But training should never be taken like that, right? It's extremely important that employees actually understood. Amit said that, followed by Q&A. Very important. Okay. It is not a check in the box exercise. If you're doing check in the box exercise, you don't need to spend, you can just do free trainings and say, I'm fully trained. It's not going to serve the real purpose. More so in forensic accounting, there are some very, very critical things, how to handle evidence, how to look at data, how to have a forensic mindset. And someone has asked a question also, right? And I want to sort of bring it in here in this topic to say it's not about, anyone can get into forensic accounting. It's not that you need a qualification or you have to be a numbers person. Very basic understanding of numbers is, yes, obviously should be there, because a lot of investigations involve numbers. But you could be a technical investigation, right? You could be doing a cyber crime. You don't need to really add or look at debits and credits. So depending on the nature, depending on your field, you could still be a forensic accountant. We have people who are who have done their MSc in agriculture, right? But they are part of a team. We have doctors in our team who are part of the forensic team. We have civil engineers who are a part of team. Of course, we have computer engineers and PhDs and other similar skill sets, right? Who have a lot of knowledge around research. So there's no specific skill set. It is just that you need to, think one step ahead of the bad guys here, right? That's the training, right? That's the importance of the entire mindset. And it's very, very important. A lot of people think, oh, I've done these 5 certificate courses, I'm a very good forensic accountant. No, it has to be a mindset, right? Along with the training, the mindset has to be there. So just remember that, guys. I think, Ghazal, can we go on to the
Yeah.
next? Yeah.
Can you move to the next slide?
Yeah.
So I'll cover this, Amit Mukul. So
Yeah.
basically, the course we have launched currently, which is available for you all, it is divided into 2 phases. So the phase 1 is the fundamentals of forensic, wherein it is divided into 8 specific modules. The 8 modules, as you see, the topics are mentioned over here. First, we'll introduce you to forensic and investigations. Then we'll talk about financial accounting in detail in the second one. We'll cover the legal aspects, regulation, regulatory aspects around it in the third module, which is the forensic and the law. The fourth one will be on investigative interviews, which is a very important part when we do investigations. Our investigations conclude with such interviews, and everything that you need to know about interviews, the skills, the techniques, the terms which are used in the investigations will be, provided in this module. Then we have another module on evidence management and document examination, which I think we covered in the earlier part, how important it is that we handle all the evidence carefully. We should be knowing what is to be handled in what manner. Then sixth module is on reporting, because once the investigation is concluded, you might need to, submit certain reports to the authorities that have put up such investigation, to your regulatory authorities, to the company. So there are certain nuances in reporting that are to be followed when we make such reports. This module then covers all those intricacies. Seventh is again a very detailed module on financial crime solely, because it's a very important topic. Financial crime is very rampant, money laundering, terrorist financing. There is not so much knowledge in people about this topic. That's why it's again a very separate topic, very detailed module on this. And lastly, something on professional requirements, that how ethically, morally, legally, there are certain obligations that investigators are expected to comply with. So it talks about all the financial requirements. So This is all the fundamentals. The phase one is available as is, of course, stand on a standalone basis also for you all to take. But we also have a phase two of this course. Can we go on to next slide, Bailey? So, which is a more technical course, and it will give you knowledge, it will give you details on how basically investigations are done, what tools, what techniques are used when we are doing such investigations. So, something on digital forensic, the email reviews, the email investigations that we do, cyber investigation, how the data is analyzed when there is bulk of data that has to be analyzed for investigation. We perform certain analytics. We have a full-fledged lab in Mumbai and Hyderabad where such analytics are done. So, e-discovery, such tools, such techniques are all explained in the phase two of this course. So, phase one and phase two, we is something we recommend that you take it up both together. But of course, they are available individually also for you all to take up. So, yeah, that's about the course that we have. Mukul, if you would like to add on to.
No, so I think I don't have anything else to add. I think Ghazal, you've covered all the points, and I think the key point, guys, it continues to be that there are a lot of points, right? Everything we are teaching you in this course, phase one and phase two, right? It's very very important. But the best way to learn, right, on a lighter note, right? I say it's a hands-on training. Once you start doing it, you will get a touch and feel, right? Just by going through the course by itself is not sufficient. Go through the course, pick up a few jobs. Once you have done it, you will learn more, right? All human beings learn that way. So this is a great course to start off the forensic journey. Once you have completed the course, get on the job and you will see the difference, right? And if you compare what you knew before you did the course and after you did the course, you will see the difference, right? So please just go on to it and just start off.
Yeah. So now I think we have the forum here for Q&A session. We have some Q&As already in the Q&A text box that we have. So we'll take it up, the ones which I can see and which I feel that, will be relevant for most of the audience. So we have a question on, one of my students is doing CMA professional course, how it differs from other courses. So
Can I
CMA,
can I
yeah,
just take that, Ghazal? See, guys, I don't think we are comparing courses. This is a guidance on very specifically. This particular course is a guidance on forensic accounting, forensic investigation, right? CM is a very different course, right? It is more about the whole professional accounting body, which trains you on a different set of skills, right? And so this is a question. I think that's the best way I can answer it, and uh,
Yeah, there
on
are
this
different
topic.
skill sets and
The
different
different skill
things that you
sets.
learn in both
Absolutely.
the courses.
Absolutely. I think the next one I see is what are the evidences which we need to gather before investigating fraud, errors, and misrepresentations? Again, it's a very generic question. It's very difficult to give a standard answer to this, but the best answer I can think of and a short version is, guys, every case will have a unique set of evidences you have to gather. You would break it up into technology related evidences, right? Black and white, which is hard coded, right? Black and white papers, vouchers, documents, right? And the third, maybe some independent source information. So there are two or three different sources which we have to do it, but depends on case. It is very difficult to give a. It's not one size fits all on this one.
Yeah. And anything where you can gather information about the modus operandi as well as the perpetrators, that will be the most important evidence.
Right, right. And I think in the age of AI, the role of forensic investigators may decline. I think, guys, it's a great point you have made. And I think, what we have done, what we have seen, and both me and Amit have been into this line for more than 20 years. And with the use of technology anyway, it had made our systems more efficient. With the upcoming AI models being done, the amount of time we're spending on investigations is reduced, right? We have become more efficient. Okay. So I think the human intervention is very important and it will continue. Okay. But yes, it is with the help of AI, we are making it more efficient. I think what is the feasibility for non-financial background person to have a career in forensic investigation? I answered that earlier on, so I'm going to skip this. And what credentials do I require? Right, I've been into fraud analytics and prevention in the online gaming industry. Right, I think credentials is something very simple. Again, this is a joke I always have. I said, as they say in Hindi, you got to think like a chore. आप चोर की तरह सोचोगे तो you'll make a very good investigator. That's the best answer I can give. And you don't need a skill, you just need that mindset, a forensic mindset to see. You keep on opening up the layers after layer, right? The big difference between a standard auditor or an internal auditor and a forensic auditor is that forensic auditor will keep on digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper till they hit the source, or till they find the problem, or till they find the fraudster. It doesn't stop, right? You just don't say, okay, fine, I relied on something, finished. You'll keep on digging it. That's the big difference. So you don't need any qualification, you don't need any particular skill set. Think like a chore, right? As I said, on a lighter note. I think I'm just looking at some of the other questions. uh, is this similar to
There's
the
one where
earlier
somebody says that Shomik is saying I'm an advocate and had a question as I want to switch. So being from a legal background is an excellent way to actually start off in investigations, because you will
yeah.
definitely be able to understand and evaluate evidence. You will understand you know how the legal side works as well as the regulatory side of it. So it would definitely be a great way to foray into forensic investigations.
Yeah. No, I
And
think
we
that's
have seen that a lot of individuals and even within our teams are lawyers. So it will be extremely helpful.
is the investigation course similar to the CFE certification? Well, there are similarities, right? Are they identical? No, right? But there are very very similar. But a CFE is far more covering across sectors. It is more sector agnostic. This is sort of more inclined towards the FS, but of course the steps we have put in here could be used in other sectors as well. But they will be similar, but there will be some differences also. But they are not like identical.
Yeah.
What should be the educational? Sorry, Amit, you were saying something.
No, no, and the ACFA will require a lot more, rigor, and you'll have to learn so much more
Hmm.
compared to this course. This course is more so that you can be on the ground and be able to do the investigations.
Yeah, thanks. And I think what should be the educational background, and is finance background mandatory for this course? These are the two questions. As I said earlier on, there's no particular educational background you need, but like we have all sorts of skill sets. Depends on what sector, what industry you're getting into, and what you're investigating. I don't think finance is mandatory, but understanding of numbers will be very important, right? If you don't get numbers at all, because even when you're doing investigation, at some point of time, it will get translated to numbers. So, very, very basic understanding of numbers is important. But it's not that you need to be a CA or a CMA or a ICWA. That's not at all. Okay, and I think I'm only picking up the relevant questions with this course.
What are the job opportunities in this forensic field? Obviously, the job opportunities are immense, both with financial services firms. A lot of large multinationals are also, taking in forensic investigators, and of course, a lot of consulting firms as well. So the
Yeah.
ability to get a job, especially if you have a forensic bent of mind, are immense.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sell myself here or anything, right? But I can tell you in ENY, you would never hear of us because we always work invisible. But our team size is like over 2,300, 2,400 people maybe now in India, right? I'm only talking India. I'm not talking global. And so that is the size. I'm not even talking other consultancies. This is pure EY India people. So
Hmm.
huge opportunity, right? And we're still looking for like 200 more people to be hired. So there's a huge opportunity on this. For anyone.
And that we have grown more than, 100 times in the last 15
Yeah.
years. So that just shows you what was the opportunity.
I think as we're nearing in, there are more questions, but I think we are sort of address all the questions which are very, very apt. I'm ignoring the questions, as I said, which are not really directly related to the topic. But mm,
Somebody asked, we are a hedge fund with a focus on frauds in investee companies. Do you have a tool or checklist as an early warning or orange flags about fraud in a company? Obviously, as a premier forensic firm, we do have this, but maybe we can connect separately.
I think before we end, we have like a couple of minutes left. I know, Bexy, should we hand it over to you because you would want to close the session as well?
Yeah, we have couple of minutes in case
Okay.
you want to take one more question. That's fine.
So there is a question on getting more of these co-branded courses wherein, stock market, banking, etc. So we'll discuss this, and hopefully we have some more new courses, if the discussion is, fruitful and we think such courses are to be important and put in this domain. So we'll have a, discussion on this.
Great. I think we're nearing the end of time.
Yeah.
So great. So I think we have sorted out most of the relevant questions. Let me take the opportunity to thank the ENY team. Mukul, Amit, very good presentation, very succinct, simple, and easy to understand. I think you covered all the main points related to forensic investigation, why it is very crucial in today's milieu, and how students and finance professionals can definitely think of making a career here and getting to learn more about it. Just for the benefit of the webinar participants, we have forensic investigation level 1 and level 2. Both are online self-paced e-learning courses that you can access very easily through the NISM LMS, which I have put it on the chat window, online.nism.ac.in. You also get details of a host of other courses run by NISM. And the brochures are there. It will have the fee details as well. The duration, the number of hours. I believe forensic investigation level 1 is about 18 hours. Level 2 is about 22 hours, and we do give about a 6-month course access validity as well. But you will get comprehensive details and brochure on the LMS. You can download everything, and then we hope that many of you will find it beneficial to sign up for these courses. These are among our premium courses, and like I said, we tie up with the best of best knowledge partners in India, and we are definitely proud of our association with the ENY Forensic Audit team who have helped us with this course. Thank you again, Ghazal, Bhairavi, and of course, Mukul, Amit, for the wonderful presentation. Sayali, with this, I think we can close out the webinar for today. And thank you all webinar participants. I hope you found it useful, and we hope to see you signing up for our courses.
Thanks, Bexy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Betsy.
everyone.
Thanks, team. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.